Lindsay, do you believe in aliens?
Oh my gosh, of course I do, Aubrey. No, 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 no.
No, you
Not
don't?
really. Not really. I don't know. Who knows what's out there?
Right.
Right. But I've been to some crazy places where people really do, like Roswell, New Mexico. Have you ever been there,
I
Aubrey?
haven't, no.
I went there in 2016 on the road trip that we always talk about from the Connected Communicator, and actually that was a location where they believe a UFO landed, right? And there's a whole
Okay.
museum. I talked to people to see what they thought, and people are believers, big time. Yeah,
Oh,
I
man.
don't know what to make of it. I just don't know.
Right. It's fascinating. Until you see something with your own eyes, it's hard to
Yeah.
take things, secondhand. This has been really interesting because it's been in the news a lot lately here in the US, right? And a lot
Mm,
of you out there listening maybe see these articles and maybe you're on board. You're like, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Sure, aliens. And a lot of you might be thinking, why? Why are
right.
Americans fascinated with aliens? Why is this such a thing in US culture?
It's a little bit similar to the ghost conversation, although I believe in ghosts more than I believe in aliens, right? But there are like hardcore believers in ghosts, and there are people who are
Absolutely.
very skeptical, and there are people who are kind of on the fence. So it's kind of interesting. But Aubrey, before we get into this conversation, what do we need to say? Who do we need to thank?
Yes, we want to give a special thank you to our reviewers, Zaran,
Mm,
School from Egypt, English
yeah.
Shiva from the United States, who asked a question in her review. Guys,
Mhm.
leave us a review wherever you listen. You can ask a question there. Just let us know how you like the show. We read these, we love to get them.
Oh, we love reading your reviews, guys. It keeps us motivated, and you have a chance to hear your name announced on this show. So go over to wherever you listen, whether it's Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever it is, and leave us a review. We want to know what you think of All Ears English. Good stuff, Aubrey. What's next?
Yes, awesome. So we want to kind of give you guys a heads up about what we're chatting about today. We're going to share sort of why aliens have been in the news in the US. It has to do with our political system, some interesting things. And
Mm,
also, we're talking about the vocabulary here because for a long time the word alien was used in the US to
hmm
to refer to immigrants, and
Right,
this is now becoming less politically correct as people are starting
right.
to realize this feels very offensive and
It's offensive.
cruel to
Totally.
create this sense of otherness,
Oof.
to dehumanize someone. So we're talking about that too and sharing better options.
Yes, I love that. It's so important to have a respectful shared language, right? When it comes to people from all over the world who are living in the US, and we're all about connection here at All Ears English. So let's get into, what are the right words to use? We'll get into that a little bit later in the episode, right, Aubrey?
Exactly. Yes. So first, we want to share this is interesting. This has really been a big deal in the US that there was a whistleblower named David Grush. So, first of all, what is a whistleblower, Lindsay? What does that mean?
Ooh, that's a great word. So it's
Yeah.
usually someone, not always within the government, but often within the government, who spots something that is illegal that's happening. And then they will kind of blow the whistle. They'll report it. And it also could be in companies, I guess, as well. But I feel like it happens
Absolutely.
more within the government.
Exactly, right? Because it's someone who has inside information that they're not supposed to share, something
Hmm
confidential,
Yes,
something secret that people don't know about. And they become a whistleblower when they
yes.
share that information with the rest of us who
That's a
aren't
key piece.
privy to that inside info, right?
Yeah, that's a key piece is the inside info, having access,
Right.
for sure. So I
So
think
what
of Edward
happened
Snowden. Yeah.
was, yeah, this gentleman, he shared with the world that
Mhm.
and provided evidence to Congress that there was an existence of a secret government program that is supposedly reverse engineering technology that has been discovered but through crashed alien spacecraft.
What?
So the difference, yes, the difference between this and maybe Roswell is now the government's involved, where we're having actual hearings in government offices to determine whether or not this secret branch exists. We have, congressional oversight committees that have hearings on these allegations. So now suddenly it's been given a little more weight,
Mhm.
and it's inspired tons of memes. It's inspired a
Oh,
lot of sort of discourse to be like, this seems different to have the government taking this seriously,
Oh.
right?
We love a good government secret, right? I don't know. There's some crazy stuff going on within the government and, there's a lot of layers of confidentiality, right? Things that people can't share. And yeah, when
Right.
it comes to UFOs and government, I'm just like, what is
I
happening?
know. It's fascinating, right? There are all kinds of conspiracy theories always, but very few of them are substantiated at all by actual government bodies. And so it sort of exists on the fringes and, we don't really
Yes.
take it that seriously. And that's
Yes.
what sort of changed recently is it feels like there's sort of a sheen of authenticity given to Mr. Grush and where he has the background to actually have this insider knowledge. So now it's sort of trying to be determined, is he just lying? Or is this true that there are these secret agencies that make people feel a little more that it might be true that there are aliens and there
Wow.
have been crashed UFOs?
Well, I do feel like we're at risk for conspiracy theories to be more rampant nowadays, right? With social media, with people living in their own echo chamber, right? Online. We talked
Right.
about that. So they tend to
Yeah.
become, I mean, it tends to become people think that truth is kind of, is it like it's fuzzy, but it's not. But I think people get convinced about different realities.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's interesting when something like this happens and it sort of explodes in the news. And especially now with meme culture, if you're on social media at all, you'll see there were all kinds of alien memes all over social
Wow.
media.
I've not
One
seen this.
of my favorites I'm just going to share is like a photo of a previous US president and some of his officials. And the officials are saying, "Sir, they're asking questions about the economy again." And the president says, "Just hit him with the UFOs." So this is such a very clever meme to sort of say like, okay, guys, the reason all this alien stuff is in the news is to distract from the real problems that we're
Distraction.
experiencing.
Oh, there's so much stuff that goes on in terms of strategy around distracting the
Right?
US population from what's really we've seen that over and over again throughout history, haven't we, Aubrey?
Absolutely. We do see this a lot. And once you know to look for that pattern, I think
Yeah.
it becomes very obvious, right? If you feel like, oh, the government's giving weight to this sort of crazy outlying, wait a minute,
Wait a
am
minute.
I being
What
distracted from what's
Right,
really
what
important?
else is going on, right? And usually you have to go one level deeper, right? You have to read certain you have to just make
Right.
sure you go to the right places to try to get unbiased news. I mean, it's hard to find unbiased news these days, but I think some publications are less biased than others.
Absolutely.
And you have to be proactive about finding the right information. It's so crazy.
Absolutely. So, guys, you have seen how Lindsay and I have had this very interesting conversation just about something that sort of popped up in the news. This type of topic is so great for connection. It's
Mhm.
interesting to talk about something like this, to ask someone if they believe
Yes.
in aliens. Have they ever seen something they thought might be an alien spacecraft? I know when I had first gotten married, we saw this line of lights in the sky that there was like no explanation for it. And who knows if it's some kind of military thing, but at first we were convinced it wasn't like a UFO. And I feel like a
That's
lot of
so
people
funny.
have a story like that. So it's
Yep.
just a fun thing to connect about.
Oh, for sure. I mean, never mind conspiracy theories. That could be another interesting topic. Like, what do you think of
Hmm.
conspiracy theories? How do we combat them? But just
Absolutely.
aliens is a great conversation starter. Do you believe in aliens, guys? Great way to start a conversation. I love it. Okay, Aubrey. So let's get into language because this is our forte here at All Ears English. What do we need to know when it comes to this word in the English language?
Yeah. So people used to refer to foreigners as aliens. And while this is still used in political terms and maybe the legal term in certain documents, it does have or has come to have this negative connotation.
Yes.
I think so, at least.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would certainly not refer to a human being as an alien in any sense of the word. What do you think, Lindsay?
100%. Oh my gosh, completely agree. Yeah, let's steer clear of this. This is something that I would tend to hear from, honestly, an older generation, I think.
Right. Just
People who
hasn't
are
thought through
yeah,
the
but
sort of the
yes,
connotation that's involved.
right. So stay away from it for sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
in fact, in 2021, Biden sought to replace the word alien with less dehumanizing terms in immigration laws.
Mm,
And though this change might sort of seem symbolic, it's important to recognize that it's like you said, it's helping to bring awareness to these older generations who just might not have thought through how this could make someone feel to use the term alien to categorize them.
Yeah, and there's other terms too that we kind of are working on getting rid of or reducing the use of, right? And what are those, Aubrey?
Yeah, so I had thought about this as I prepared this
Mhm.
lesson, the term illegals,
Yeah.
because often for a long time, the term would be illegal aliens. And then
Yes.
people were dropping aliens and just saying illegals, which
Yeah.
has never felt better to me. Like, oh, that's awesome. You're not using the word alien anymore. But to
Mhm.
just refer to someone as an illegal is also dehumanizing in its own way.
Totally, 100% agree. So we do need to come up with new things to say, new words. And so, Aubrey, what's the answer? What do we do here? Should we be correcting people on the spot? What do we do?
That's a very good question, right? We usually don't recommend that you correct the vocabulary someone's using, but instead set an example through
Mhm.
using vocabulary that is more kind, more thoughtful. You certainly can inspire this conversation and ask someone, how do these terms make you feel? Do you think we should be using them? And instead of directly correcting someone.
Yes, I love it. Are there any terms that might be better than
Yes.
illegal or
Or
alien?
aliens.
Mhm.
Absolutely, right? The best option is just the word immigrant. This has a positive connotation, right?
Right.
It's actually associated with someone who's very ambitious and hardworking. Like the word immigrant, at least as far as I was raised, has a really positive connotation and can
Yeah.
just be substituted directly.
Right. I think it's pretty neutral, right? It depends on
Yes,
how you're raised, but yeah, for sure. I mean, this country was built on immigration and built on hard work and a good work ethic. And I think people are still proud of how this country kind of grew and was built through immigration. And so I think that's neutral to positive depending on who you're around. Totally agree. Yes.
absolutely, right? And there are quite a few other options. Someone can just be referred to as a foreigner or newcomer or a
Mhm.
foreign
Newcomers.
national.
Yes.
Yeah, I like
Yes.
all of those.
Yeah, foreigner, I like a little less for some reason, but I really like newcomer. I think that's great.
Mm.
And foreign national is interesting because I feel like that's an older one, but it might be coming back around now in a
I
way.
think maybe because where you were saying you feel that little bit of negative connotation with foreigners, because that
Yeah.
does sort of separate
Yes.
it creates this exclusivity of
Yes.
like those of us who were born here versus someone who is
Mhm.
a foreigner. And I
Mhm.
don't feel that same connotation with foreign nationals. I wonder if that's why.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? I also love international professional, right?
Mm.
There's also expat, which is good, also really good. So there's a lot of other options, Aubrey, when it comes to talking about people who have relocated to your country, guys. If you're talking about people coming to your country, right, and living and working, this would work great in English. Yes.
Absolutely, right? And when we're thinking about the goal being to connect in English, right? That piece of
Hmm.
connection, this is important there. The words we use
It
can
does.
give offense, can create a separation between you and someone else.
Hmm.
And these words alien and illegal when we're talking about immigrants can do that. So we want to be careful to avoid causing that.
Exactly. And, it's okay to make a mistake too, but the key is how do you correct yourself, right? If you make a mistake, and then what's the overall interaction like between you and this person? Is there smiling? Is there connection? Is there caring? Like, do you care? Are you asking questions? Are you engaging with them in English, right? On the same level? That's the key. So, let's try to use the right words. If we make a mistake, it's about the vibe. Let's say the vibe,
Yes.
the
It's
connection.
about the
Yeah.
vibe. I love that. I think
Mm.
there's a really big takeaway here to always be aware that language is evolving and the terms that may have been considered offensive are being replaced with better, more respective things. And we need to be part of that change, right?
Mhm.
However, we feel most comfortable doing it. Like you said, Lindsay, to have these connection moments and have the feeling after we leave, after we're chatting, be positive and uplifting always.
Yeah, I think that's what the takeaway is today. Let's always be striving to be smarter about our words, but people are going to judge us based on who we are as a person, right? The entire holistic you and how you treat someone, right? How are you
Absolutely.
treating people?
Yes,
And that's the
absolutely.
key.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
really
love it.
good point, right? I'm certainly not horrified when someone uses one of these words. I'll
Yeah.
usually assume, give some grace, recognize it's usually about someone not realizing that's offensive or not having
Mhm.
thought through. So I agree. I love what you said there. Like, we're not judging mistakes, we're giving everyone some understanding and then just always trying to do better ourselves.
Coming back to connection, Aubrey. That's what it's all about. Love it. Love it. All right, guys. So if you love All Ears English, let us know in a review. We'd love to be able to announce your name on the show if we see your name there as a reviewer, and hit follow on the All Ears English podcast. All right. Good
Awesome.
stuff.
Thanks,
Take care,
Lindsay.
Aubrey.
So
Talk to you
fun.
soon. Bye.
Bye.